Non-governmental organizations are at the forefront of the fight against the violation of human rights, with some of these offering different services according to the issues being faced especially by women. Omega Aloyo, the head of communications at FIDA Uganda, relays the challenge of having over 7,000 NGOs shut down.
NGOs and civil society organizations, as we like to call them in, the civil society world, are key players in making sure that we uphold the rights of women and girls. But they're clustered into different bits. So the NGOs that were working on legal aid service provision, like FIDA Uganda, the NGOs that are working on economic empowerment, the NGOs that are strictly land, right? So you have these different players who have a humanitarian heart, to use that phrase, a humanitarian heart in making sure that societal issues are being handled. Why? Because sometimes, government intervention may not be enough because of the resource challenges. I think we've seen what our national budget looks like and what those allocations look like.
Aloyo cites challenges faced by the NGOs, the lack of funds being the biggest, and encourages government to use systems already in place to encourage the existence of NGOs.
That the work that NGOs are doing is actually government work, right? These services are supposed to be provided by the government. So where there is community sensitization, whether it's national legal aid provision, right? You need the national legal aid bill, right? To handle that issue, to make sure that it goes away. If you have the national legal aid bill, you've already solved a huge portion of the work that FIDA Uganda is doing. NGOs are limited in their very nature, in terms of geographical appearance in a certain area, or in terms of even resources. But the government has a far-reaching arm in different districts. You have these systems already set up, JLO systems and things like that. Of course, we work with the government. I don't think you can do work in this country in human rights without working with the government. If you receive a case that is about sexual violence, of course, your next course of redress is the police. So we have these relationships, these forward and backward linkages with different government institutions. Is it the courts of law? Is it the Uganda police? Is it the Child and Family Protection Unit? So there are already those relationships that you build as NGOs, because in yourself, you're not the entire justice system. You're a component of it. You feed into it, right? So we definitely work with the government. We would love to work more and much more with the government in different capacities, of course, but the relationship that we have with the government is it's good.
Aloyo further calls for a better operating environment for NGOs since they feel a big gap in the fight against human rights violations. She calls for more light to be shed on the policies governing NGOs.
The operating environment for NGOs has to be extremely favorable, because when the operating environment for NGOs is favorable, it means the rights of women and girls are being upheld. So if you have stringent policies around what a permit is, already you're curtailing what? NGOs. So NGOs are extremely important in this country. I cannot stress that enough. If you look at the national databases of the people that are advocating for, human rights, children's rights, you'll find that NGOs form a very huge component of that database. They're the ones that feed into this, right? So that operating environment is something that we have to look at on a roundtable discussion with the government and say that, these laws that are in place in regards to how NGOs operate, the duration it takes to register an NGO, how you understand?
FIDA Uganda's goals for 2025 as one of the NGOs that advocates for human rights include dealing with cyberbullying, pending rights on women in cohabiting relationships, and many others.
Of course, our goals for 2025 are clear-cut. Look at emerging areas of law, look at technology-facilitated gender-based violence, and how do we advocate against this, right? There is a lot of cyberbullying, cyber harassment happening. How do we make sure that the law is up to par with this online world that we live in? Look at things relating to fields that are a bit ungoverned. I would like to put that in quote unquote. For example, the music industry. Look at the pending bills. Look at the property rights of women in cohabiting relationships, and how we're actually working to make sure that their interest is protected in case they separate from their partners. So there are so many issues. I think from what happened in 2024, you get your goals for 2025.
To the people who are often violated but choose to keep quiet, Aloyo advises against that, saying all people are protected by the law.
Speak up, be bold, do not be shy, right? Girls and boys have equal rights before the law. If you're experiencing anything out there, do not feel shy. If you feel shy to tell your relative, at least tell an elder in the community, but do not keep this information to yourself. If you feel shy to talk about it at home, talk about it at school. If you feel shy to talk about it at school, talk about it with an auntie, but make sure that you speak up against any violation that you're facing to whoever you can actually share this information with. And this not only goes to girls, but even to women, right? Women are facing GBV in their marriages, right? But because you keep the problem hidden, you think that by keeping the problem hidden, you're preserving the integrity of your marriage, but you could die in this situation